After Invincible's brutal defeat at Omni-Man's hands, Earth was plunged into silence. The Global Defense Agency and robot arrived too late. They only found remains of an unequal confrontation, shreds of suit, bloodstains on stone, and some broken teeth scattered as proof of the tragedy. But for Robot, that was enough. Using DNA samples and with help from the Mahler twins, he began his most ambitious project, creating an organic human body that could house his consciousness. Not just anyone, but a replica of the young man who inspired him and whom he had failed. Mark Grayson, younger, purer, perhaps with a different life. The transfer was a success. His mind, a synthetic intelligence built with millimetric precision, now inhabited flesh and bone. For the first time, Robot felt the world's warmth on his skin, the irregular rhythm of a heartbeat, and the weight of what he had done. But what he found wasn't liberation, but confusion. The body didn't respond as expected. Each step was a new experience, each emotion an unknown territory. Without the systems that once gave him order, organic life was constant chaos. Despite his knowledge, he didn't fully understand his new being. He was human, but didn't understand it. And worse still, that body wasn't his. It was a reconstruction, unique to the hero who had tried to save the world. Robot couldn't ignore the truth. He had taken something sacred without asking permission. He had done it for logic, for efficiency. But now, with a human body, he understood guilt. That's why he made a decision. He renounced the name Robot and adopted a new one. Marcus, not as a copy, nor as a superficial tribute, but as a way to keep alive the memory of who was no longer there. He didn't want to replace Mark. He wanted something of him to continue existing. I'm not invincible, I'm just Marcus, but maybe someday I can learn to be something more than a shadow. The only person Marcus would confess the truth behind his transformation to would be Amanda. When he looked into her eyes for the first time from his new body, no longer as artificial intelligence, but as a young man with flesh, skin, and a trembling voice, she understood. She didn't judge him. She wasn't horrified. I don't care that you used his DNA, but if there's a chance, just one, that Mark is still alive out there, please find him. Moved by that hope, Marcus locked himself for weeks in his laboratory. He designed a completely new device, a kind of synthetic gift created through advanced biotechnological engineering, a living matter tracker that using Mark's DNA would scan entire regions of deep space. He activated it every night looking at the stars while his algorithms searched for some signal in the void. But while waiting for answers, something changed inside him. His body, which he had considered clumsy and unknown at first, began to react differently. His vision improved, his resistance increased, gravity stopped weighing on him, and then came flight. Marcus flew for the first time during a field test, and the sky was never the same again. The Viltrumite heritage that slept in his blood awakened without warning, and upon doing so, Marcus no longer felt like a simple reflection. He began to fall in love with himself, with the freedom his new body offered him, with youth, with energy, with power. And with that transformation came fear. Marcus began lying to Amanda. He told her the project still didn't work, that he still couldn't fly, that his body was as limited as any human's. He feared that if someone discovered what was really happening, if Amanda found out that the body he had created was blooming into a new Viltrumite, no one would ever forgive him. Marcus didn't have an answer, but he knew his lie would become unsustainable and that each day he hid the truth, he moved further from the person Amanda wanted him to be, because inside he began to feel something different from repentance. He began to feel pride for his new body. 7 long years passed since Mark Grayson's disappearance. During that time, Marcus aged physically until reaching the same age Mark had the day he was defeated by his father. But it wasn't just his body that matured. His mind, always brilliant, dedicated itself to understanding even the smallest secret of his physiology. Marcus didn't waste a single day studying his body at molecular level, at genetic level, seeking not to surrender to that blood nor glorify it, but to control it, master it, become the protector Mark couldn't be. And then one day he found it, a DNA pattern floating in a remote region of space. It was weak, fragmented, but unmistakable. Marcus sent a long-range search drone with a single mission: find Mark Grayson. Not as an experiment, not as an enemy, but as a last hope for redemption. But Earth wouldn't wait for him. In those 7 years, the world became a crueler place. The most devastating tragedy came at Dinosaurus' hand, who, convinced that humanity would prosper if he extinguished part of it, detonated multiple bombs at the planet's poles, causing a catastrophic rise in sea level. Entire cities disappeared under the waves. Millions died. The world bled. Marcus, still in secret, faced Dinosaurus for the first time and was humiliated. He didn't yet have full control of his strength. He didn't have the necessary fury. He barely managed to survive the battle with broken lungs and even more shattered morale. Dinosaurus disappeared without a trace, and Marcus understood something that would accompany him from then on. It wasn't enough to be Mark, he had to be better. Using his old alias Robot, he returned to public life. For everyone, he was still the same robot who once led the Guardians of the Globe. But behind that title, Marcus built a new legacy. Using Pentagon resources and help from multiple heroes and scientists, Marcus designed an artificial moon capable of regulating sea level and mitigating the havoc caused by Dinosaurus. It became an unprecedented technological breakthrough, a symbol of hope. But for Marcus, it was much more than that. In the depths of that artificial moon, far from cameras and protocols, he built his sanctuary, a secret place where he could train, experiment, and evolve. There were no spectators, no excuses, only one objective: become as strong as Mark or even stronger. Finally, one day, Marcus would receive the signal that the drone he had sent to space was heading toward Earth and would arrive in an estimated 7 days. Using the drone's integrated camera, Marcus would discover it had been captured by a huge spaceship. With just one look, he would immediately deduce it was the Viltrumite Empire. Though Marcus already possessed considerable power, he knew he had no chance of facing an entire empire alone. Therefore, he would make a risky decision, pretending to be the original Mark. His appearance would cause profound impact on Cecil and all the Guardians of the Globe. With great conviction, Marcus would fabricate a detailed story. He would assure them he was rescued by a group of rebel Viltrumites who tried to face the Empire, but were finally annihilated, with him being the only survivor. According to his account, the Viltrumites had spared his life in order to use him as bait for a future Earth invasion. To reinforce his plan, Marcus, still under Robot's identity, would offer to work alongside Mark and propose a desperate measure, asking Cecil for Dinosaurus and the Mauler twins' release. He knew that to have any chance against the Viltrumite Empire's power, they needed the planet's best scientists, strategists, and brilliant minds, regardless of their criminal history. Thus, the countdown to war against the Empire would begin, and Marcus had to be prepared to face both his enemies and the consequences of his own decisions. Time passed. Finally, one day before the possible confrontation, at the lunar station that served as operations base for the Guardians of the Globe, all involved gathered. The plan was already set. Marcus and Tech Jacket would face the Viltrumite Empire's heavy hitters directly. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Globe would handle evacuating and protecting Earth's population. Dinosaurus, always pragmatic and lethally efficient, had improved Tech Jacket's armor, integrating a unique frequency that, according to his research, could induce deep coma in Viltrumites by interfering with their internal biology. It was experimental, dangerous, but promising technology. With luck, it would be their MasterCard. Every hero in that room knew not everyone would come out alive, but they also knew this was their best and only opportunity to stop an invasion that could extinguish humanity. The calm before the storm felt heavy, and everyone, even the most experienced, knew the coming battle would be remembered or completely erased if they failed. And so the day came. The battle for Earth had begun. Thragg, enraged and exhausted by so many years of human resistance, no longer wished to conquer the planet, only destroy it. With his red cape waving in stellar wind, he descended furiously, accompanied by 50 Viltrumites, all seasoned in intergalactic wars and a vast army of enslaved alien creatures from previously conquered worlds. His order was clear: raise everything. But Marcus was prepared. From the atmosphere, millions of black drones with Invincible's golden insignia engraved on their chests swept the sky like a plague of justice. They were autonomous replicas designed by Marcus, each armed with high-energy weaponry and augmented force. Their beams cut through the sky, exploding on Viltrumites and their alien allies' flanks. Combat was chaotic, brutal, without quarter. At different points on the planet, individual battles broke out. The Guardians of the Globe fought valiantly against scattered Viltrumites, outmatched in power but not in determination. Spawn, wrapped in his living cape, faced implacable conquest, exchanging blows that made mountains tremble. Tech Jacket, with the new Viltrumite frequency integrated by Dinosaurus, faced Anissa. Their clashes created sonic waves that tore the sky, and in orbit, above Earth, amid the collapsed lunar station and floating debris, Marcus launched himself against Thragg. The Viltrumite leader smiled with contempt upon seeing him. Nolan's son. Marcus didn't respond, only clenched his fists, activating all internal systems he had perfected during 7 long years. It was now or never. The war for Earth had begun, and no one would emerge unscathed. Space's void enveloped everything. There was no sound, only the mute rumble of impacts, laser beam glow, and bodies floating like dead insects. Marcus was there, suspended in Earth's orbit, watching as Thragg slowly approached. His silhouette was imposing, brutal like a god dressed in blood and hatred. Marcus clenched his fists. His body trembled not from fear, but from the brutal pressure his mind exerted on itself to remain serene. He had a plan. It had to work. Then Thragg's voice emerged through the communicator implanted in his ear, vibrating directly in his skull. "It cannot be. I killed you." Marcus didn't respond. He couldn't, not in this environment. He only swallowed, only thought, "He's convinced I'm Mark." Thragg stopped before him, mere meters away. His eyes were cold, inquisitive, almost insulting in their calm. "I threw you into a star's core along with your father. Nothing remained. No bones, no blood, only silence." Marcus felt a chill. That's how Mark died. That's how his story ended. How? How did you return? Cloning? Time travel? Some trick by those damned humans? Marcus barely averted his gaze. The communicator allowed listening, but not speaking. He didn't need to speak. His thoughts were a storm. "I'm not Mark, but if you believe I am, then I'll use it to my advantage." Suddenly, Thragg moved. In a blink, his fist impacted directly on Marcus's chest, breaking his suit's energy barrier. The blow launched him dozens of meters, his body rolling through space uncontrolled. Marcus regained balance with thrusters. It hurt. Even with his improved Viltrumite physiology, it hurt a lot. I don't have his strength, but I have his face, and I have a plan. He launched himself again with all the impulse his suit allowed. He hit Thragg in the face with all his strength. Nothing. His fist bounced as if he had struck a mountain. Thragg barely flinched. He raised an eyebrow and spoke again through the communicator. "You're weaker than I remembered." And then began a silent beating, a cruel dance where only one knew how to move. Each of Thragg's blows broke something. A rib, a tooth, part of hope. Marcus floated between impacts, his thoughts increasingly confused. "I can't! I have no chance!" Every calculation, every training, nothing matters. Thragg grabbed him by the neck, looked into his eyes. They were so close, Marcus could see his own reflection in the Emperor's pupils. "You're pathetic, but if you return from death once, I'll make sure this time not even ashes can return." And he hurled him toward Earth's atmosphere. Marcus descended like a meteorite. Fire surrounded his body. Each second hurt more. I'm not Mark, but if I have to die like him to stop him, I will. And while falling, he activated his final protocol. Marcus descended, wrapped in flames, his body already wounded, his thoughts a tangle of pain, strategy, and guilt. Thragg followed him like a red comet charged with hatred. The communicator crackled in his ear. It was Dinosaurus. "Marcus, 73% of the planet has been destroyed. The Guardians have fallen. Adam Eve, Rex, Duplicate, Shrinking Ray, Bulletproof, all." The voice broke for an instant. "Spawn defeated Conquest!" Tech Jacket managed to put 7 Viltrumites in comas with the frequencies. "But it's not enough. We're not gonna win this." Marcus didn't respond, only gritted his teeth. No, not now. So Earth, his Earth, burned. And then Thragg charged from behind with monstrous speed. Marcus felt the dry crack of his arm breaking in two. He screamed, but his voice didn't come out. Only blood, only fury. The impact launched him like a projectile, destroying a mountain slope with his body. Rocks flew through the air. The crater left in his wake looked like a nuclear bomb's mark. Thragg landed before him, walking through dust like an unstoppable beast. He wasn't tired, nor sweating, not even altered. "This is all you have? You are Argyl's descendant?" he spat through the communicator. "This is the so-feared royal blood," because to me it just looks like blood. And he began beating him. Ferocious, inhuman, each fist was like two planets colliding. Marcus's face deformed, his skull cracked, his left eye collapsed closed, his jaw dislocated. He couldn't defend himself, couldn't move, couldn't speak, could only remember. The weight of an entire life passed through his mind. His birth, deformed, inhuman, years locked in his robotic capsule, pretending to be strong, building his first false body, the project to transfer his consciousness, cloning Mark Grayson's body, Amanda, her voice, her hands, her love, her promise that the world could change, his decision to protect Earth, whatever it cost, and his betrayal of Mark, of truth. "Forgive me," he thought, with tears drying on his destroyed face. "Forgive me, Mark. I usurped your life, your body, your name, and I couldn't even protect what you defended until the end." "Don't you have anything more to give?" Thragg asked with a rough, almost bored voice. "I expected more from Argol's blood, but I suppose you were just a mistake someone tried to correct and failed." Thragg lifted him by the neck like an old rag. Marcus hung, bleeding from every corner of his body. His suit was destroyed. His legs no longer responded. His arm hung limp. Marcus's destroyed body hung from Thragg's hand, and then an energy explosion pierced the air. A portal opened behind them, distorting the atmosphere as if reality itself split in two. Thragg barely had time to turn his head. Dinosaurus emerged from the glow, imposing, covered in dried blood and smoke. His gaze was a death sentence. Thragg narrowed his eyes. "And you're supposed to be," but he didn't finish the sentence. Dinosaurus raised a small device and activated it. An acute, invisible frequency exploded in the air. The sound wasn't audible, but its effects were immediate. Thragg's eyes opened wide. A stream of blood spurted from his ears. His senses went haywire. Marcus also screamed in pain, though no one heard him while the frequency burned his skull from within. And then, without pause, Dinosaurus threw a small metallic drone directly into Thragg's open mouth. "I hope your interior isn't as resistant as your damned exterior." The drone entered Thragg's throat like a bullet, a buzz, a beat, and then a muffled explosion from within. Thragg staggered. "You dare to," he managed to say while grabbing Dinosaurus by the neck, lifting him as if he still had strength. But his fist loosened. His gaze was lost, and his body collapsed like a star finally extinguished. The Viltrumite Emperor was dead. Dinosaurus' plan had worked. A new portal opened, soldiers came running out, Pentagon agents, doctors, scientists, paramedics surrounded Marcus, lifted him carefully, and carried him through the portal. Dinosaurus watched them disappear. "I handle everything while you're away," he murmured. 1 month later, the white ceiling light flickered slowly. Marcus opened his eyes. He was in a sterile, cold, strangely quiet medical room. His body was bandaged, reconstructed, strong again, though something in him felt irreparably broken. The door opened. Cecil Stedman entered, older, grayer, more tired. "Good morning, Mark." Marcus didn't respond, only observed him. Cecil approached with an envelope in his hand. "All the Guardians of the Globe are dead. Rex, Eve, Duplicate, Shrinking Ray, Bulletproof, Monster Girl, even Robot died fighting for the planet." Marcus lowered his gaze. "My mother Debbie also fell. She was one of the first targets." Marcus clenched his fists. The pain was indescribable. He was still pretending to be Mark Grayson, but inside he no longer knew who he really was. "How many lives were lost?" he asked. Cecil looked directly into his eyes. 49% of the world's population, almost 4 billion people. Marcus remained silent, feeling the numbers weight as if each soul were on his back. What happened to the remaining Viltrumites? Cecil sat beside his bed. Dinosaurus and Tech Jacket eliminated the rest. The frequencies worked. Dinosaurus activated a second protocol from orbit. "The last Viltrumite is you." Silence returned to the room. Only machines maintaining Marcus's stability could be heard. "So what's next for me?" he asked with a hoarse voice. Cecil stood up, observed him a moment, and turned to leave. But before reaching the door, Marcus spoke. "Rebuild the world." Cecil stopped. A slight smile formed on his face. "Good answer," and he left. Marcus simply closed his eyes. 500 years later, the camera floated in stellar void, slowly approaching a bright blue point, Earth. But it wasn't the same. Gigantic orbital rings surrounded it, connected to space stations and suspended cities. Towers that grazed clouds, crystalline oceans, urban jungles full of life. The planet had been reborn, a level 2 civilization. They'd conquered their star's energy and now walked towards something even greater. The moon was no longer gray nor arid. Forests, lakes, and titanic domes covered its surface. It was a living world. In a gigantic floating plaza above the Sea of Tranquility, millions gathered before an imposing structure, the Temple of Unity. Engraved in it, a statue of Marcus with one arm extended toward the sky and another holding Earth. On the central platform, surrounded by lights, interstellar flags, and technological stained glass, Marcus stood. He wore a white cape with golden details and the redesigned Viltrumite symbol on his chest. His face, though mature, showed no signs of age. Blood still granted him vigor, though centuries' weight was in his gaze. Beside him, Dinosaurus. Both looked at the crowd. The camera turned and showed the audience. Dozens of Viltrumites. Men, women, children. They weren't hundreds yet, but they would be. And they weren't warriors. They were citizens, teachers, scientists, farmers, families. On an elevated platform, Amanda observed the scene with bright eyes. Her adult body showed scars from the past, but her heart was at peace. Beside her, a young man about 18 years old with black hair and green eyes, almost identical to Marcus, crossed his arms. His name was Mark, his son. Marcus raised his hand and silence fell like a breeze. 5 centuries ago, this world was on extinction's brink. His voice was clear, firm, honest. Wars, betrayals, blood, destruction. We lost everything, but we also found something: hope. He turned toward Dinosaurus. Together with those who decided not to surrender, we rebuilt what was once broken, not as humans, not as Viltrumites, but as something new. The camera focused on Viltrumites in the audience, some with tears, others with pride. Earth is no longer just a blue planet. It's the heart of a new civilization, one where hunger, tyranny, or slavery from the past don't exist. He turned to look at the sky. And though my days are numbered, I swear the future won't be that Argyl's mistakes, even mine, won't be repeated. Because today, he raised both arms. Behind, a large screen showed the fused symbol of Earth and Viltrum. Humanity and Viltrum are one. The entire plaza exploded in applause, cheers, tears. And thus concludes the story of Superior Mark, who was born, locked in a capsule, deprived of everything, and ended up transforming the Viltrumites, saving humanity and becoming emperor of a new era. Not for his strength, but for his wisdom. This is Superior Mark, a story of second chances and the weight of borrowed dreams. What did you think of Marcus's journey from robot to humanity's savior? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of heroes and villains.